Hello, today we are working on Holt 3.7, dividing a decimal by a decimal. You see the materials that you need. Once you have those materials, unpause the video and you can keep going. All right, our job today is going to be to move the decimal out of our problem. And so when we are dividing by decimal, because we cannot divide by a decimal. Well, you can on a calculator, but you can't do it in long division way. It's just not going to work. So we're going to move it out, and we move it out by multiplying it by a power of 10. And what you do to one, you have to do to the other. However, another way to think of that is just moving the decimal place over to the right. So for this, I have moved it over to the right one time. So what am I going to do over here? I'm going to move it to the right one time. So when I move it to the right, now I have a decimal right here at the end, and there's no decimal that I'm dividing by anymore. So I can look at it and I can say 22 goes into 1 0 times. 22 goes into 13 0 times. 22 goes into 132. How many times do I think that is going to work? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of my math knowledge, and I'm going to say 22 is pretty close to 20, and 132 is pretty close to 120, because I know that 120 can go in, or 20 can go into 120, and that happens to go in 6 times. So let's just experiment with this and see. So if I have 22 times 6, and 2 times 2, or I'm sorry, 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 more is 13. Oh, look at me. You get 132. Sometimes you get lucky. Just got to use that math sense. And 22 goes into 132 6 times, and I subtract it in that. Since my decimal is right here, you are just going to leave your decimal alone. When you write a whole number, you never include the decimal at the end. I just put it there so you remember where it is in case you needed to go into tenths and hundredths and so on. But in this case, you don't have to. You're good. So our answer to this one is 6. Now we're going to see how many times we can do 24 hundredths divided by 63 and 39 hundredths. So I'm going to move the decimal out before I start dividing. And I moved it over twice here, so I'm going to move it over twice here. My problem now becomes 24 divided by 6,339. 24 goes into 63. I know for sure it goes in 2 times, because I know that 25 times 2 is 50. So 24 times 2 is going to be 48. So let's see. If I do, oopsies, we'll do it over here. 63 minus 48. What do I have left? Borrow and regroup. 13 minus 8 is 5. 5 minus 4 is 1. So I have 15 left. So, yep, it really does go in 2 times. And then 2 times 24 is 48. I have 15 left over. I'm going to bring down my 3. Now, how many times does 24 go into 153? Let's use some math sense here. We know that 24 is pretty close to 25. 153 is close to 150. So 24 goes into 150, or I'm sorry, 25 goes into 153, let's see, 6 times. So let's try that out. 24 times 6. I multiply. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 2 is 14, so I get 144, and that will work. Subtract. I have 9 left over. I bring down my 9. And I know that 99 is pretty close to 100. 24 is close to 25. Yep, still. So that can go into 100 4 times. So I'm going to say 4 times 24. And how much is that? That is 96. So I subtract it. I have 3 left. Now, we are over doing remainders. We do not do remainders anymore. So what I do know how to do, however, though, is put a decimal in. So I'm going to drop my decimal in. Because I dropped a decimal in, I'm dropping a 0 in. 24 goes into 30 one time. 1 times 24 is 24. And you get 6 left. Another 0 in there. 24 goes into 60. How many times? Yep, 2 times. Very good. 2 times 24 is 48. And I'm going to move over here. On your paper, you will have more room to do your work. Or at least I would hope so. If not, go to the back of your page. Don't go all over the place like I am right now. And normally I would go to the next page, but since we're on a slideshow, I'm trying to keep it all on one so you can see. So I subtract. And I borrowed. So I have 12 left over. Throw another 0 in there. 24 goes into 120. How many times? Let's see. I'm going to guess probably 5 times because I know that 24 is pretty close to 100. Yeah, we'll try 5 times. So 24 times 5. 10 plus 2. Oh, look at that. There you go. So it goes in 5 times. And I'm done because I have no remainder left. All right. Let's practice a couple more times. Anthony spends $87.75 on shrimp. The shrimp costs $9.75 per pound. How many pounds did he buy? So if it cost me $87.75 total, but he's getting X amount of pounds, and we know it's $9.75 a pound, we still need to move our decimals out, so we're moving it over 2 places. So now I have 8,775 divided by 975. Okay, let's look. This is pretty close to, I'm going to round up and say it's pretty close to 9,000. I'm going to round this down because I feel like I would overestimate if I rounded up. So about 9 times. So when I do this, 975 times 9 is equal to 45. 9 times 7 is 63, plus 4 is 77. I'm sorry, 67. Wow. 9 times 9 is 81. 81 plus 6 is 87. And look at that. We have 87.75, so it goes in 9 times. All right, so how many pounds did he buy? About 9 pounds. Now, when you're checking your answer to see if it makes sense or if it's right, does this make sense? He spends that amount of money on shrimp. We know how much it costs per pound. How many pounds did he buy? Does 9 pounds of shrimp sound fine? Or is it a crazy huge number? That's a lot of shrimp, but it sounds realistic. So it's not a crazy number like for him and his family, he bought 9,000 pounds of shrimp. He's buying 9 pounds. So that sounds good, and we can move on. If we go to Marcus, he drove 354 and 9/10 miles in 6.5 hours. How many miles per hour did he drive? We're guessing. If he drove the same amount every time, or the same speed the whole time. So we're going to move our decimal out. There we go. So we have 354.9. So 3,549 divided by 65. It is the same problem. You have to move the decimal out in order to be able to solve this. So we're going to say, how many times does 65 go into 3,549? And I'm going to say, let's see, 354 to 65, probably about 5 times maybe. So 65 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. 6 times 5 is 30 plus 2, 32. Does that work, or do I have too much left over? Subtract it. Borrow. 14 minus 5 is 9. 4 minus 2 is 2. All right, so we're good to go with that. And then we bring down our 9. 65 goes into 299. I'm going to say probably 4 times. So I'm just going to take away, well, nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do 65 times 4. You could also just take 65 away from this number, but I decided just to remultiply because I have to do a bunch of borrowing and other such things, which you can totally do, but right now I just feel like multiplying. So 5 times 4 is 20. 6 times 4 is 24. Plus 2 is 26. So I have 260. What do I have left over? 39. Now, I need to put a decimal back in because I cannot have a remainder of 39. So with my decimal comes a 0. 65 goes into 390. How many times? So I'm going to think to myself, I know that 65 goes into 325 5 times. So I'm going to say maybe 6 times. So 65 times 6. You could also just add 65 onto that too. And you multiply. 36 plus 3 is 390. Oh, sweet. And oopsies, we're good to go. So that's going to be 6. So 56 and 6, or 54 and 6/10 is the average of how many miles per hour he drove. All right, if you would like to give dividing decimals by decimals a shot on your quiz, go ahead and do that now. If you would like to do a couple more problems with bigger numbers and a couple different situations, stay on and we'll look at a couple more. Again, our numbers are not getting crazy. The routine is still the same. The procedure is still the same. You're going to write your number down. You're going to move out your decimal. Now for this one, I'm only moving it 1 time. Here, I'm only going to move it 1 time because I only moved it out once. So what you do on one side, you have to do on the other. So now my problem becomes 87 goes into 2,836 and 2/10. Because when we moved the decimal, we only moved it 1 to move it out. And so now I just bring it up like I would normally bring it up to solve my other equations. So 87 goes into 2. It doesn't. 87 goes into 28. It still doesn't. 87 goes into 283. How many times? I'm going to say about 3, maybe. We're going to see. So 87 times 3 is 21. 24, 25. Yep, that works. I subtract it. I had 32 left, I bring down my 6. So when I bring down my 6, I have 326 now divided by 87. And I know for sure that 87 is going to go into 300 3 times. So I'm going to say 3 again. 3 times 87, I just did it over here, is 251. Ooh, is that too much? Do I have to go up one more? I don't know. Let's subtract. So 5, so 2, 12 minus 5. Oh, 75. Nope, I'm still good. Bring down my 2. So now I have 752 divided by 87. How many times does that go in? Well, I'm going to guess 8 because 87 is lower than 100 and 752 is bigger than 700. So I'm going to see if maybe that'll fit in 8 whole times. So 87 times 8. So 7 times 8 is 56. 8 times 8 is 64. Plus 5 is 69. So if I look at 696 and I subtract it, 12 minus 6 is 6. I have 6 left. 15 minus 9 is 6. So I have 66 left. Does that work? Yup. So 66 goes into, or I'm sorry, 87 goes into 66 how many times? Well, it's not going to work, is it? So what are we going to have to do? Throw a 0 in. So 87 goes into 660. How many? Oh, wait, I messed up somewhere. 87 goes into, you know what? I messed up. We are just going to scrap this. We're going to start over again. So see, some of you will know that sometimes I jumble numbers to everyone else. You now have proof that I am not perfect, which is fine. I'm good with that. So 283 divided by, or 283.62 divided by 8.7. All right, I know for sure that it bring up my, let's see, move out my decimal, move it out, then bring this one up because it's still in there. So 87 goes into 283 3 times. So 87 times 3 is 261. Oh, that's where I made my mistake. 261. And 261, when you take it away from 283, is 222. Now I bring my 226 down. That only goes in twice. That's where I screwed up. So 2 times 87 is 174. Now we're cooking. And I'm going to subtract that. And I have 2. 22 minus 17 is 5. So now I have 52 left. Bring my 2 down. 522 divided by 87 is 6. And I multiply that, and I get exactly 522. There we go. Much better. Sorry about that. Okay. Let's switch on down to here and try another one. So if we fill in for the value of x, we're doing 15 and 65 hundredths divided by 210. We have to move our decimal out. Now, since it's only moved over one place, we can still move it up. So now our problem becomes 156 and 5/10 divided by 2. 2 goes into 15 7 times. 7 times 2 is 14. Subtract it and bring down 1. 2 goes into 16 8 times. 8 times 2, 16. And bring down the 5. My decimal point goes straight up. 2 goes into 5 4 times. 4 times, nope, jeez. Almost did it again. 2 times 2 is 4. Subtract it. I have 1 left. Throw in a 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10, and I am all set. So my quotient then ends up being 78 and 25 hundredths. All right, let's look at one more. Again, just throwing a number in and a couple more operations before you get to your answer. So 35 or 3.5 goes in for C because we substitute that in. Now, PEMDAS, we look at the exponents first in the parentheses. So that's 49 minus 32 and 9/10 divided by 3.5. I'm going to bring it over here so I can stack my numbers and solve more efficiently. Remember, when we're subtracting decimals, we're lining up the decimal point. I'm going to throw a 0 in there just as a placeholder to help me. I can't do 0 or 9. 0 minus 9, so I'm going to borrow and regroup. So 10 minus 9 is 1. My decimal point comes straight down. 8 minus 2 is 6, and 4 minus 3 is 1. So now I have 16 and 1/10 divided by 3 and 5/10. And I'm going to set it up this way so I can solve it more easily. Move my decimal out. So my problem now becomes 161 divided by 35. So 161 divided by 35. When we think about it, let's see, 35 is pretty close to 40. 161 is pretty close to 160. I know that 40 goes into 160 4 times. So let's see. 35 times 4 is 20. 3 times 4 is 12. Plus 2 is 14. So that'll work. And we're subtracting. 1 minus 0 is 1. 6 minus 4 is 2. So I have 21 left. 5 go into 210. Well, it goes into 140 twice. So if I add, I know 35 plus 35 is 70. So if I add 70 more, which is 2 more, that would give me 210. So I'm going to say 6 times. So I'm going to just add 70 onto this because that's 2 more 35s, and I get 210. So my answer is then 4 6/10. All right, thanks for stopping by. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video. I apologize for my little error before. Proof that I am not perfect. So go ahead, try the Stretch It questions on your Google Classroom and let us know if you have any questions. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.